In the early 90s, I lived in a small 2-bedroom mobile home about 30 miles from the nearest town. My closest neighbor lived 15 minutes down the dirt road from my home. I'm a single mom, and at the time, my daughter Amanda was 4 years old, and my son, Jason, was 2 months old. One quiet afternoon, I pulled into the driveway after a trip to the grocery store. I had grocery bags hooked over one arm, Jason's car seat handle clutched in the other, and Amanda trailing close behind me, cradling a loaf of bread like precious cargo. Somehow, we made it inside without incident. Jason was asleep, so I set the car seat gently on the kitchen floor, careful not to jostle him. I started putting the groceries away, moving quietly, hoping to buy a few more minutes before his nap ended. As I opened the refrigerator door, I heard a voice say, "Mommy." I froze, a carton of milk in my hand. At first, I thought it was Amanda, but there was something strange about the voice. It was hollow, uneven, and just wrong. I turned around to look at my daughter. She was frozen in place, her arms squeezing the loaf of bread tightly to her little form, and her eyes were wide with fear and staring down the hallway that ran off the side of the kitchen. "Oh, sweetie," I said, crossing the kitchen to take the bread from her. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A shadow, large, the size of a man. It slipped down the hallway and into my bedroom without a sound. I froze, just for a moment. Every hair on my body stood on end. The back of my neck went hot, and my stomach twisted into something sharp. Someone had broken into my home. We didn't have cell phones then. There was a landline, but the thought of dialing for help while some stranger stood in my house with my babies, it paralyzed me. The police were 30 minutes away. Too far, too long. My hands shook as I gathered Amanda and Jason, still in his car seat, and got us into the car. By the time I drove to the neighbor's house, I was in tears, trembling, and trying hard not to cry because I didn't want to scare my children. But Amanda could see something was wrong, and she began to cry too. The neighbor didn't hesitate. She opened her door, pulled us inside, and sat me down at her kitchen table. She poured a cup of coffee I didn't drink and called her husband, a sheriff's deputy. "He's just finishing his shift," she said gently, her hand on my shoulder. "He'll check the house on his way home." And he did. When he arrived later that evening, he found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, no reason for what I'd seen. He told me everything looked fine, but the weight in my chest wouldn't leave. They invited me to spend the night in their guest room, and I did. The next day, I went home. The house was quiet again. Normal. For a few days, I convinced myself it had been nothing. Just shadows and exhaustion and an overactive imagination. Then one night, everything changed. My bedroom was at one end of the trailer, the children's room at the other. I kept a baby monitor in their room so that I could hear when Jason woke up, or if Amanda was playing when she should be sleeping. From my bed, with the door open, I could see straight down the hallway into their room. This particular night, I was exhausted. It had been a really long day at work, and the children had taken longer than usual to settle. I drifted, half asleep, until sound brought me back. Slow, deliberate creak of the floorboards. I told myself that it was just the trailer shifting, but then I heard footsteps. They were heavy and slow, and definitely not the trailer. I opened my eyes. I saw Amanda standing outside her doorway, backlit by the soft glow of the nightlight in her room. Her small silhouette was still as stone. "Amanda, go back to bed, sweetie," I said, hoping that she would turn around and crawl back into her bed because, like I said, I was extremely exhausted. But she didn't move. I rubbed my eyes, blinked once, and in the space of a heartbeat, it crossed the hallway. Its movements were unnaturally fast, jerking and skipping in a way that made my skin crawl until it stood right in front of me. Its shape was Amanda's, but the face, God, its face. Black, hollow pits where eyes should be. A mouth stretched impossibly wide. And in that same hollow, broken voice, "Mommy!" I screamed, thrashed, tangled in my blankets, and fell off the far side of the bed. My body moved before my mind did. I was on my feet, heart slamming in my chest. As it crawled up onto my bed, that voice rasping, "Closer now, Mommy, Mommy, help me. Where are you going, Mommy?" I don't remember deciding to run. I just remember leaping over it, the rush of air, my bare feet pounding the floor as I sprinted down the hall. I slammed the children's bedroom door shut behind me and collapsed against it, chest heaving. Every sane part of me tried to rationalize what I had just seen, but when I saw my Amanda, my real Amanda, sleeping peacefully in her bed, and Jason, soft and quiet in his crib, I knew I wasn't imagining this. I sat there for the rest of the night, the lamp on, watching the door, every creak of the trailer sharp as a knife. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I packed a bag, loaded the kids into the car, and drove to a hotel. It took every penny I had saved over 6 months, but by the end of the week, we were gone. I hired movers to pack the house. I never set foot inside that place again. She moved, she packed up her children, and she drove away from that house. But you have to wonder, did she really get away? Or is that thing still watching? If you have your own story you'd like to submit, you can find a link in the description, along with some of the tools I use to document these accounts. I'll be back soon with another file, but until then, the archives are closed.